You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. I got to tell you guys, we really, really do appreciate you joining us, and we are very, very excited for our new some of our newest listeners that are listening on 99.9 FM and 1370 AM WFEA in Manchester, New Hampshire. So thank you guys for joining in, and hope you like the show. One thing I don't like is being watched. As an employee, we're hearing that there's all this surveillance that's being done where your boss will be video recording, looking at you on camera, watching your every move. And it stinks because you want to have a level of trust with your employer. As an employee, we're having people really, really complain because since remote work skyrocketed, bosses are like, are you really, really working? Or are you just leaving your computer on and watching Netflix or going out to the pool? And so many people feel like they're just not getting the privacy that they need to do their job. Just tell me what to do for my job. Let me do it. On the other end, I've also been an employer. And I can't tell you how many times an employee said they were actually doing something and they weren't. When I found out that the referral log, right, with patients and their abnormal tests, were not being followed up on. Luckily, I remembered everything. So I'm like, the woman with the abnormal mammogram, did she see the breast surgeon? Oh, yes. I'm like, let me see. And when I caught that my staff was not following up on the potentially cancer patients, whoa, that floored me. When I had a nurse that kept taking blood pressure saying 120 over 80, 120 over 80, I'm like, can I just watch you do the blood pressure just to make sure you're doing it right? I hated that as an employer, but she was wrong. She was getting the blood pressure wrong. I've had amazing staff, but as a doctor, you cannot have people just say, oh yeah, 120 over 80, which by the way is still considered elevated blood pressure. We want you below 120 over 70. Not too much below, but 120 over 70 is the mark. Somehow, this nurse thought 120 over 80, she could just put that down and we're good. Really? How do you not know blood pressure? And so, and then, of course, the stealing. Somebody stealing things out of our stat kit. I got to intubate something and they stole the medicine. So, as an employer, I get why there's surveillance. As an employee, you hate it. Now, I work for a telemedicine company. I don't blame them for doing this, but they record every single interaction. And that's actually good for doctors because they now have that protection. If a patient says, oh yeah, they didn't do anything for me. They didn't listen to me. Look at what's going on with this Lindsey Clancy case. I heard voices and none of the doctors wrote that down. Is there proof you told the doctors? Yep, there's the audio. So we are going to see more and more surveillance, but it's not easy. Now, from what I understand, some states require that employees are aware. I would think all states would require, you are being recorded. This consultation is being recorded. There are cameras. I think that's extremely important for employees to know, especially if you're, adjusting your underwear, fixing your bra. I think you have a right to know if there are cameras. And when we had cameras in the waiting room and in the front desk, they were so visible. So nobody would think they could go and put a gun on our front desk and try to rob them because there were cameras. So you definitely want to make sure they're aware. But you have these more subtle sort of surveillances that are driving people crazy. And their bosses are like, you're taking too long with each customer. You're not doing your job right. Now, it used to be you had somebody with you. So when I learned to wait tables, even though I didn't necessarily have to go through a lot of training, I had to shadow one of the lead waitresses. She was mean to me. Ooh, she was mean. But I did what I had to do. I was super nice, learned what I had to learn. And then I went and took over and took over tables and whatever. And so, but we had secret shoppers. And I got in trouble by one of the secret shoppers because apparently we were supposed to suggestive sell on the appetizers, on the desserts. And I don't like being pushy. I know that's a shock to everybody. I just don't like being pushy. So when the customer, when I'm like, would you like any appetizers? Oh, God, no. I go, no worries. Our plates are huge. We give a lot of food. I got in trouble for that. I was supposed to follow up with, you sure you don't want, some fried onion rings? Or, no, I'm not a salesperson. I'm trying to say, look, we give big, big portions at this restaurant. So there's been levels of surveillance this whole time. But now there's a lot of pressure on employers and now professors to make sure you're not cheating, make sure you're not stealing, make sure you're actually doing your job, especially if you're working remote. And that's frightening. One of my friends had said that she at her new job got a call about a coworker we both had. And the person asked if that person was working at this new place. And she's like, well, I don't know. That's kind of invasive. Why? Well, because the employee was double dipping. They wanted to see if somebody was taking full salary, working from home and benefits, and then also working at another place because they were never on site. So I don't know what the answer is because surveillance tools are growing and workers don't like it. Workers don't want to be watched. Workers don't want to be corrected. Workers don't want to be, in trouble for, a secret shopper coming in saying, yeah, she didn't suggest dessert and appetizer, so you lost revenue because she didn't suggestive sell. We employees can't stand that. But the employers need to ensure you're doing the job right. The employers need to know that you're not stealing, that you're making sure somebody with an abnormal PSA is getting their prostate checked. So I don't know what the balance is going to be. But how I see it is if there is data collection and surveillance, especially with people working from home, that's going to be the trade-off. You're working at the office and on site, your manager can oversee and watch. And the boss is always watching. I know you have a lot of bosses out there that don't care. They're just punching in, punching out. But if their job is based on your productivity and you're not being productive, they're going to watch you. So as an employee, I can't stand surveillance. As an employer, I get it. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
you're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. And again, welcome new listeners in Manchester, New Hampshire, WFEA 99.9 FM and 1370 AM. Glad to have you. So I had a relative who I had to take to their parent-teacher conference. And he was really, really young at the time. And the teacher was giving M&Ms as a reward for him getting an answer. And he kept asking for the M&Ms, asking for the M&Ms. And she goes, you see, I think he has ADHD. And I look at that and I go, maybe, but first it's M&Ms. All right, so obviously these kids, I mean, you put M&Ms in front of me. I mean, I'll run into traffic to go and get an M&M that is bouncing on the ground and falling into a sewer. And when I spoke to the child's parent, they go, he was hungry. That's why he kept reaching for the M&Ms. So I asked, what are you feeding him in the mornings? Well, Cocoa Krispies, whatever cereal, breakfast cereal, de jour. And I'm like, he's hungry. He's not going to concentrate. And so now that we're going into the back to school routine, right, nutrition experts, and luckily we have one joining us, are now kind of teaching us what we really should be doing to ensure that they have good learning, good focus, and good healthy development. So here to help is award-winning registered dietitian and mom, Lauren Maneker. She is teaming up with Gonna Need Milk to share the importance of nutrition as families are heading back to school. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Lauren Maneker.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this topic.
Oh, my gosh. And absolutely. And so important because we're in a hurry. So we're running to the grocery store. We're grabbing whatever is on sale. And does that really mean the kids are going to be doing the best they can? So talk to us about what parents need to focus on when it comes to nutrition.
Right. I'm with you. And there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are happy that we're covering this topic.
Oh, yeah. So kids are going back to school. They're tired. They might be reaching for the sugar. What do you want parents to focus on?
So as kids head back to school, it's important for parents to build balanced meals throughout the day. And that means including protein, healthy fats, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and nutrient-rich foods like dairy milk. Now, all dairy milk, including whole and lactose-free milk, provides 13 essential nutrients in each 8-ounce glass, like calcium, vitamin D, protein, and B vitamins, making it an easy and cost-effective way to help fill nutrient gaps and support bone strength, healthy growth, and brain development.
Yeah, they should not be drinking sugary juices. They should not be drinking soda. And, their focus and their development, no wonder we're having a lot of kids struggle in school. If they're not eating nutritious meals, they're going to struggle.
Well, there are also a lot of kids that are eating nothing when they leave for school, which is concerning as well. So, finding ways to make it nutritious and approachable for them is key.
So that's a good point that you bring up. So a lot of parents, they're in a hurry. The kid took, forever to get up and get dressed. They're late for school. They're running to catch a bus or hop in the car. What do you suggest to parents to ensure that the child is getting the nutrients they need?
So I fall into that camp. I have an 11-year-old. My daughter has to be on the bus at 7:15. So we cannot make homemade pancakes every morning. And I want to remind everyone that a healthy breakfast doesn't need to feel complicated to be nutritious and filling. So in my home, adding whole milk to morning smoothies, poured over cereal, or an overnight oats with fruit that my daughter likes can be a quick way to get out the door on time while knowing that my daughter's getting essential nutrients. And that's something that I recommend to people as well. It's just thinking about what are they going to eat that actually provides nutrients that they need to help get them through the day. Packing a balanced lunch the night before helps save time. And also, I want people to not underestimate the power of a nutrient-dense after-school snack. Kids come home really hungry, and it is a great opportunity to get key nutrients in their diet that they're not getting. And I know it's so easy to, grab the cookies, But there are so many options that kids really enjoy that's low cost, easy to make. In my home, one of our go-tos is a peanut butter and banana sandwich on whole grain bread served with a glass of whole milk. It takes me maybe 20 seconds to put together. My daughter's so happy with it, and she's getting so many nutrients in every bite and every sip to help bridge potential nutrient gaps that she may be experiencing throughout the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I've seen parents say, okay, if you don't have time for breakfast, here, just take a banana with you to eat at school. These kids can't eat at school. They can't eat on the bus. So what do you recommend that parents prioritize into this back-to-school routine?
So in the back-to-school routine, if they really cannot eat the meal on the bus or in school, like I said before, it doesn't need to be complicated. If they could wake up 5 minutes earlier, just 5 minutes earlier, so they can have some time to enjoy a bowl of cereal with whole milk in it, it's going to help their kids throughout the day. Proper nutrition plays such a critical role in supporting focus, cognition, and overall brain development. And I really do believe a nutritious breakfast helps set kids up for success before a long day at school and with their after-school activities. And I do recommend that whole milk because it provides healthy fats along with key nutrients like choline, iodine, and vitamin B12, which are vital for brain development, learning, and memory formation. And bonus points for that whole milk, it has nutrients that helps kids feel full longer so they can focus on what they're doing rather than hunger. I live in South Carolina, so the kids in the school that my daughter goes to, they all get free breakfast. And they can go and grab a milk. I mean, they don't have to eat like a full meal with sausage and eggs. They can grab a piece of fruit and milk, and that's a quick thing that they could do before they're running to class. Unfortunately, that's not an option in every state, but if you do have that option, that is something I would encourage kids to explore. They're there anyways.
We're speaking to Lauren Maneker, award-winning registered dietitian and nutritionist, certified lactation educator and counselor, and 3-time author. So where can my listeners go for more information? I know you're short on time. This was so helpful. Where can they go for more information?
For more information, they could go to gonnaneedmilk.com.
I love that. And like you said, even a glass of milk can provide a lot of nutrients, could make them feel full and at least get them, through the morning. Lauren, can't wait to have you back. This was fantastic. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
1-877-DOC-A-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I'm no angel. I have given my kids sugary cereals, and I have done the low-fat milk. You notice she brought up whole milk. With your kids, you really want them on whole milk. Now, we did low-fat milk because, we as parents were like, well, we need to cut the fat. We need to trim the fat. So I'm just going to buy. Also, my refrigerator didn't have room. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just buy the low-fat. I'll just buy. When it comes to kids, they really, really need, something that provides them more substance and gets them through the day. Now, speaking about food, we have another food outbreak. Apparently, in addition to cyclospora, we have another foodborne illness where authorities are now linking 17 illnesses among Wisconsin residents. And this time, it's to alfalfa sprouts. There's been a hospitalization, there's been other illnesses, and it's part of a multi-state outbreak of E. coli and salmonella connected to alfalfa sprouts that are distributed to restaurants and stores. This is according to Wisconsin Department of Health Services. So the department said the sprouts were from Everything Sprouts and were sold under the Calco and Everything Sprouts brands. According to Daily Mail, the neighborhood in neighboring Minnesota, 23 cases of foodborne illness has been identified in connection with the sprouts. And, when I talk to you about eating healthy, and a sandwich, throw some extra vegetables on there, throw some spinach, throw some sprouts. Sadly, if you can't wash them and, make sure that they're, not contaminated, unfortunately, there could be this risk. It's low, but it's a risk. So Wisconsin DHS is working with Minnesota health officials, Centers for Disease Control Prevention, US FDA, and they are looking at alfalfa sprouts. I'm not a big alfalfa sprout person, but what I like about alfalfa sprouts, if I'm doing tuna or chicken salad, it's great to put those on and add the extra fiber and add the extra nutrition. So hopefully they get their act together, because E. coli and salmonella could be dangerous. Bloody diarrhea, stomach cramps, fever. We had one woman go into sepsis because of, I believe, jalapenos that were salmonella infected. And unfortunately, the iceberg lettuce and the cyclosporiasis outbreak is still going on. So just be aware, and any symptoms you have, even the blueberry, there's an E. coli outbreak linked to frozen blueberries. Get yourself checked out and keep a log of what you're eating. The 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
And we're back on Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, with this Lindsey Clancy murder case, I believe the defense is about to rest. Prosecution is going to cross-examine some of the witnesses. And this has been a very all eyes on this case. And there's supporters that are in pink that are across the United States showing support for Lindsey, who is now 36 years old and on trial for murdering her 3 children. I believe a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old. And where the defense is arguing and wants to successfully convince the jury of, is that she was insane. And because of her lack of help and her being under, the control of a voice in her head, she couldn't control her actions. She didn't plan her actions. And so she should be put in a psychiatric hospital, and she could actually potentially get out in 5 years. Whereas if the deliberation of the murders was proven and the jury's convinced, she would be in prison for the rest of her life. So you're seeing this back and forth. And it's interesting because you depending on who you hear and what you're hearing, on one end, you're like, okay, either these doctors were completely incompetent, all of them, or she's lying. And that's a little tricky because people don't like doctors. Juries don't like doctors. A lot of doctors don't go on juries. So what the defense is saying is that these doctors were really, really grossly negligent. You had somebody who was suicidal, homicidal. They never put it in their notes. All right. They never did an in-person exam. It was always on telemedicine. And that they didn't communicate with other providers as it pertained to her medication. She was on a medication soup. So when you look at that, you're like, poor thing. On the other end, the prosecution is like, did you ever tell did these doctors ever know that you were thinking about suicide or homicide? And we have to ask as physicians. We always have to ask. If the doctors didn't ask, they're in trouble. But if they did ask and she said no, do they take her word for it? The chaplain apparently met with the mom after the murders, alleged murders, although she has admitted to murdering her kids. The chaplain apparently met her over 100 times and said, yeah. And she said a voice told her to do it. But it's not in her notes. So the prosecution asked, if she told you this and you met with her and she kept saying, I'm hearing voices, why wasn't that significant enough for you to write down? This I'm hearing voices defense only came after. And still, nobody has it documented that she was hearing voices. So on one end, if these doctors, right, did document and ask if there was suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation, that she was hearing voices, of course, you got to call Child Protective Services and get the kids out of there. But if the discussions with the doctors were, I'm good, I'm actually fine, I'm having some trouble sleeping, but I'm good. Now, all doctors are always supposed to ask about the welfare of the children. They also should have the husband and other family members in the room, just as, if that patient is amenable to it. If not, they want privacy, they don't have to. But I would always say, because I would see the patient in person, I'm like, would you like your spouse to come? And so then they could kind of hear what's going on and maybe help and be a part of your care. And the majority of them would say, I would love my spouse or my mom to be here. The problem is all the care was done on telemedicine. So whether somebody was in the room or not, who's to tell? And I think psychiatry and psychology, even though it's very, very important to get access to the patient, and telemedicine has been helping millions of patients, if you can't see the toe tap, if you can't see the hand wrenching, if you can't pick up on nuances, you're missing stuff. So, I would have, from the medical standpoint, made sure there was an in-person visit. I would have made sure there was reconciliation of the medications, and I would have continually documented and asked and inquired about, are the kids safe? And if I thought the kids were not safe, I would be getting Child Protective Services involved. On the other end, we're being told that she was telling family members, I think I'm going to hurt the kids. Then the big question asks, why didn't anybody tell her doctor? Why didn't anybody get the kids away from her? So the insanity plea, usually in the case, it's did she murder the kids or not? She admitted she murdered the kids. But now on a technicality, well, she was insane. As far as I'm concerned, anybody who's going to murder their 3 children, is insane. So obviously she had a psychotic event. Obviously something is really, really wrong with this woman. But is she going to get off? Is she going to be allowed to leave the psychiatric hospital in 5 years? Is she a threat to other people? Now, the defense is claiming when you have psychosis, you aren't aware that what you're doing is wrong. Well, then do we really want her out and about among other people? If that's going to be your argument, do we really want her, free in 5 years? And I know that could be best case scenario. So there's a lot of questions, and it's kind of, and I think Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 kids, got off on insanity. That's frightening. Now, if the insanity plea keeps them, in a psychiatric facility, like let's say the punishment is, or the sentencing is, you're either in prison for life or the psychiatric hospital for life. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care. Just keep them away from the public and get them the help they need. And the psychiatric hospital will give her more help. But what the prosecution has to do now, and it's on them, the onus is now on them. It used to be the defense, but apparently in Massachusetts law, the prosecution has to prove she wasn't insane. Of course she's insane. She killed her 3 kids. So they have to prove, well, there was some planning. She told the husband to go someplace and do multiple errands. She looked and calculated the time that he would be gone. She removed the older kid to another room so the older kid couldn't intervene with the murder of the other 2 younger ones. That's some premeditation to me. It's not in the throes of a fight. All right, I'm going to go and grab a knife. This was a plan. And so she's insane for doing it, but does that mean she gets off? And it's frustrating because I think everybody screwed up. If she really told her husband and told her mom that she thought she could hurt the kids, somebody should have gotten those kids as far away from this woman as possible. And nobody did. Is it because she never told them that? Or is it because they were in denial? And I get it. The average person who's not a medical professional might not believe it. But if somebody told me I might hurt your grandchildren, I would be like, I'm spending the night. You go and take a trip. I'm going to watch the kids. And that's just, and that's great. That would be the maternal instinct in me, not the doctor. The doctor, you call Child Protective Services. You get somebody involved right away. Nobody did that. The chaplain said she met with the woman 100 times. Why isn't there any documentation that she's hearing voices? That's pretty significant. If somebody's hearing voices and a voice is telling her to kill somebody, especially if you believe in Satan, don't you think that's important in your chaplain notes? The doctors, where did they screw up? If they didn't reconcile the medication and they didn't recommend an in-person exam at least once, that's a problem. But if they did recommend the in-person exam and she said, I decline. If they did ask, are you thinking at all about hurting anybody? You have postpartum depression. Are you thinking about hurting your kids? And she said no. It's going to be very, very tough to then sue them for malpractice. But if they never even ask the question, they're negligent. And that is malpractice. So I haven't seen the medical records. I haven't seen all the testimony. But it is kind of making you scratch your head as to, what the hell is going on here. And then she jumped out of a 2-story window and is now paralyzed. And I really feel bad for the family. Losing the kids, I really feel bad. But, claiming that it was just a temporary thing and I didn't plan it when it looked planned, I think she should still be the rest of her life in a psychiatric hospital. But if she gets off because of a technicality, that's a problem. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away. Hi, everyone. Dr. Dahlia here. Thousands of physicians, residents, nurses, and medical students are silently dealing with depression. And tragically, 400 take their lives each year. 400! I wrote The Depressed Doctor, hoping to reach out to anyone struggling. You're not alone. Don't stay silent. The Depressed Doctor can be found on Amazon, or the book can be found on drdahlia.com. And if you or anyone you know needs help, call or text 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme. The solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book on in-laws and how to overcome issues you have with either your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your daughter-in-law, son-in-law. Because apparently over the years, I've gotten a lot of questions and fielded a lot of questions on something that seems to plague a lot of marriages and a lot of families. And it's frustrating for people because, you have a daughter, you have a son, you have a relationship that is unbreakable. Now you have somebody new in the family that may be marrying your daughter or marrying your son, or you are getting married and now there's another set of parents. And all of a sudden, things start to get very chaotic. somebody tells, the child, don't marry that person. The people dating could be talking about you in a negative manner. And, I'm very, very fortunate. I got good in-laws and I have a great, great soon to be daughter-in-law, but I'm hearing of some very, very interesting dynamics that people really struggle with. So one dynamic is what happens if your child is dating somebody who is talking poop about you and is turning your child against you. What do you do? Okay, now, maybe mama bear. God forbid that would happen. I don't think it would happen because I've had such a great relationship, and whoever my sons date usually are really, really good people. But for me, one is, try to prevent from being in that situation. If for a soon-to-be in-law to dislike you, all right, one, they could be absolutely crazy. But it could also be, did you do something to hurt them? Did you say, sorry, this is my family. You're joining our family, so I don't care what your plans are or your dreams are. This is the way we do it. Okay, yeah, they're going to fight you. They're going to buck you. And you're going to, but let's assume you have done nothing wrong, all right, to tick them off. And they just want to drive a wedge. That's a problem. And so when somebody is bad, we also see this with divorcees, where I have friends who say, the ex just bad-mouthed me to the kids. And what do I do? Because they hate me and I don't have access to the kids. So what I always recommend is just be good. Be good. Don't leave any fuel to the fire. If your child really loves you, okay, deep down, yeah, it could be somebody temporarily could sway them. But if the arguments that are being pitched to them is, he's trying to get you away from your father, and he's trying to get you away from, he's, who you're dating is just, if you just continue to be a good person, then whatever they say about you isn't true. Now, they might say, okay, well, they're on good behavior. Watch, they're going to act like they're so nice. And then all of a sudden, they're going to try to control you. Watch, they're going to say something. And that's how a lot of these people grab your child, by predicting the future, which is a pretty easy prediction. It's like somebody, one of these fortune tellers. Watch, they're going to not be happy that you're moving. Watch. And they're going to try to come up with that shows they're selfish. It shows they're this. Of course, nobody's going to be happy when you're moving. If they love you, those are obvious things. So what I recommend is if you do have access to your daughter or your son, and say, look, listen, I love you. And my job is to be here for you. Okay, as a mom, my job was, to help give birth to you with God's help. My job was to help raise you. My job was to support you. That support should never end. And whomever you decide to marry and be with, I might guide you, but I am here to support you. And if you ever need me, I'll always be here because I love you. And leave it at that. There's only so much. If they want to hate you and build up whatever, you just still smother them with kindness. Now, how do you approach the person that's turning your daughter away from you or your son away from you? How do you approach that person? Again, smother them with kindness too. And say, look, if I ever wronged you, let me apologize. All right. The fact that you are there to be with my daughter or my son, you're a blessing. And even though in your head you're thinking this person could be a piece of crap, okay, say, look, my job is to support you guys. So whatever you need, let me know. I hope we could stay close later, but I am here to support you. That's my job. And leave it at that. It's really hard to hate somebody who's taking the high road and is being nice. Now, but it's scary. Let's say this person is getting your child to do drugs and they're manipulative and they're, at some point, if you think your child is going to be hurt, end up hospitalized, end up dead, you need to intervene. But if it's a difference of opinion, then sometimes you need to just kind of take the high road. But if at all you think that child's going to get hurt, you got to get them. You just gotta do what you can. And it stinks because drugs are bad and they are mind manipulating. And unfortunately, when you have a bad relationship plus drugs, you're going to do bad things. Hopefully you raise that child well. But again, always be there for them, because if they're afraid that they can't go to you because you're going to say, I told you so, they won't go to you, and then they could die. So you have to be there. And if at all you're struggling to know how to deal with the issue, go and see a counselor. Counselors are sometimes really, really good. Now, and one thing you could do is if your child is getting married, now and you want to improve relationships with the in-law, have them come to the session. All right, sometimes it helps to have somebody else kind of take a look at the situation, where you're like, this is what I suggest, and say, look, I want us to be a family, so I want to better myself. Will you come? And so we could. And if they're like, I don't want anything to do with you, your child, your daughter or son may be like, I'd really, really like to make this work, because most of them would like to make it work with their parent. With the being the mother-in-law or the father-in-law from hell, the biggest mistake that these in-laws are doing is they're being selfish, and they are having a plan already that they have planned for 20, 30 years with their daughter or with their son on what their life is going to be like with that adult child. Now there's another adult who wants to marry your daughter or your son, and they have their own career aspirations. They have their own plans for how the marriage is going to be, on where they're going to want to move. And oftentimes it's not going to jive with what you want. And so I've seen this time and time again, where these in-laws are like, no, this is how we do it. You're joining our family. Actually, no. Your daughter and her new boyfriend or girlfriend or whomever, or your child and their new partner, they're now the new nuclear family. And then the in-laws are out here. And you need to establish that, or you will tick off the person who's marrying or partnering with your child. And so what you need to say is, look, I love much, as, once you have children, you'll understand how, you just want the best, and how, you're going to be heartbroken if they ever leave. But that's what kids do. That's what adults do. So we want to remain close. We want to remain, a big, happy family. So let me know how I could work with you guys. But if you're thinking, no, everybody has to grow up in Oregon and be with us, or everybody has to, no, it's not going to happen. And I understand there's a lot of families that are very demanding, and they're like, this is how we do it. And no. And so, I think there's a lot of drama that doesn't need to be. And having an extended family and in-laws that are there for support is extremely important. I am so grateful that my son is marrying the most amazing woman, because now I have a daughter. So I went from only having 2 children to now having, a third. And I didn't have to go through the labor and the hemorrhoids. So I love her. It's great. But I better not screw it up. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.